Hello, I am Ruth O'Brien, Senior Director of AI Support here at Intercom, and I'm joined by Matt Leggett from Access Group. Hi Matt, how are you doing today?
Hey Ruth, thanks for having me.
Can you tell us a little bit about your role at Access Group before we get stuck into our chat about Fin and AI?
Absolutely. So I work for the Access Group. We're a software house, global business. We have 180 or so products across many different sectors. My role is head of digital CX. So I look after all of our digital operations when it comes to customer experience.
Nice recent promotion, I hear.
Yeah, so director
Yeah.
of digital customer
Nice.
experience.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So we were in London together actually last week, so it's good to see you again in New York. We're very international. And we were at an AI academy that one of Intercom's customer partners was putting on for their portfolio of business, part of which Access Group is part of them, HG. And something I really enjoyed about that and Pioneer today was the chance to connect with other leaders in the AI space, but also this kind of hands-on learning that they were doing in particular there over in London. So you had a part to play in that as well. How did you find the day over there?
Yeah, amazing. I think this space is moving so fast. People are at different stages of their journey when it comes to AI. The opportunity to collaborate and try and foster that culture of innovation and supporting one another is super important. Today, exactly the same thing. People who are already on the AI bus, people who are just about to board the AI bus, people embracing Fin, people not embracing Fin, but coming together to understand one another's experiences, positive outcomes that they're already seeing through the adoption of AI. And I think that's really important in any sort of technology change is you go through that journey with your peers and as one.
Yeah. And you've seen a lot of great success with Fin in your own company.
Yep.
You were telling some of those portfolio businesses all about the opportunity with AI. Can you share a little bit with our podcast listeners?
Yeah, I mean, funny enough, we just heard about the laggards, right? And there's people out there, customers who are maybe late to adopt AI, don't want to adopt AI as a service channel, and are much more comfortable sticking with more traditional channels like web cases, email cases, phone, etc. One of the ways we've tried to use AI to try and change that mentality, to try and change that mindset, is actually by taking a customer's bunch of like traditional cases, email cases, running them through Fin, and then sending the customer the results. So, hey, Mr. Mrs. Customer, here's your 50 support cases from last month. Actually, Fin would have solved 40 of those had you have gone straight to the bot. And therefore, you might want to try and adopt this moving forward. And we're having really great success in terms of doing that. That applies to smaller companies or companies who have fewer interactions with customers too. You could run all of your interactions through the AI, through Fin, and then broadcast your results on social media. Tell people the performance, how it would have been had they have adopted it, rather than going straight to human support.
Yeah. So interesting. Like you're doing that with customers who didn't want to interact with AI, right? But I'm thinking, should we be doing that with businesses who don't want to use AI for their customers? Like actually do the same thing, like a simulation of a lot of their support queries and show them what Fin or their AI agent could do, and then start to break that down in terms of like time that they could save, the customer experience that they could give. So I love that idea. I think I was chatting with you earlier about this, right? Where I was saying I might borrow that idea for customers of ours who actually still don't want to interact with Fin. So a lot of our customers are Fin customers, but a bunch of folks would still be using our help desk platform, and some of them haven't moved on to using Fin yet. And what we're finding is that some folks will interact with our own customer support team, and we have Fin up front and center, and they ask Fin a question. Fin answers the question correctly, but they don't believe Fin, and they want to speak to a human. They get through to a human, and then the human just repeats what Fin said, and we're like, how do we politely say you should have listened to the AI agent in the first place? So it was really interesting hearing that you're doing like some kind of outbound outreach with that, to try and help customers come around. And I'm trying to figure out like, how do we get customers who don't trust Fin right now to trust Fin more?
Yeah, we're also trying it with conversational support. So if a customer's reached out over email and that's hit our case management tool, actually using Intercom as an outbound channel to reach out to them and engage them in conversation to say, right, okay, you still wanted to interact with a human, that's fine, but let's try and get you from email to conversation first, and then from conversation into Fin. So actually you can crawl, walk, run to it as well is another like experiment we're running today in trying to get customers more engaged in the Intercom channel.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's so interesting talking to you about some of the challenges you have working with different businesses and support leaders around trying to move them from like tickets and emails or phone. And I feel like I've had nearly the opposite experience in rolling out Fin because I work for the company. So we had to use that thing no matter like whether I wanted to or not. And honestly, at the start, I was a bit hesitant because it was very new. This is going back like maybe 2.5 years ago. New technology. I didn't know how good it was going to be. So I do understand why people are hesitant, or I did then anyway. But I mean, at this point now, the hype is real. AI can really deliver actual amazing customer experience and great results for your business. So we've heard it a lot here today. Actually, you mentioned it there around like the laggards. I actually hate that word, but that's the word that we're using.
Sorry.
I'm saying it too. But yeah, I was just listening to Gary Vee speaking about it as well around sometimes people who are holding out and being like, I don't want to adopt this new technology. I don't like it. And it's happened in the past, right? With things like social, or if you go back further, smartphones, the internet. And over time, this technology just becomes so prevalent that you actually cannot go about modern society life unless you actually do adopt it. And it's only when folks actually start feeling real pain and they're like forced to do it that the ones who really didn't want to. And I hate that idea of pain as well, so I'm like, how can we figure out a way of like bringing people along on this journey a bit more without it having to feel really painful first? And I think some of that is around like exactly what you're doing, where you actually show them, you try and like build that trust and show them how they could have done so well with AI if they had just given it a chance.
Absolutely. And I think in a lot of instances, you only get a few chances with customers when it comes to self-service and AI. And if they don't get a great experience in those first couple of times, then the chances are they will resort to the traditional channels. So for us, it's really important. Trust, you use the word trust. It's building that trust from the very beginning, even if that means outreach and showing them that they could trust the process and should have trusted the process. It's so far so good. Seems to be working well.
Yeah, and even going back to the AI Academy that we were part of last week, there were a bunch of different folks there at different, like you said, different stages of their journey. So some were quite advanced in their use of Fin with some really great results, and they wanted to learn more about optimizing. And others were pretty early on, like they might have kind of implemented, but they were, really hoping to start maximizing results, or they'd only done it for some parts of their businesses. There were some folks actually who were like really, really concerned about the customer experience side of things. And when I was bragging about our amazing results that we have on our own support team at Intercom, they were, some folks were challenging me around like, yeah, well, it's all great to have like a resolution rate really high, but like, are you actually giving a great customer experience? And I was like, yeah, like we're like resolving a huge portion. So like 80% of our inbound volume pretty much instantly. People would have been waiting in a queue before that, sometimes for hours. And in the dark days before Fin, it could have actually been days. So if you're able to answer their questions within minutes, moments, seconds, surely that is a better customer experience. And it's still trying to get folks to wrap their head around that side of things.
Yeah, we talk a lot at the Access Group about Fin is minutes, conversation is hours, and cases is days. And that's a really nice way of thinking about it, is the fastest, the most efficient channel is the bot. And if you can maintain reasonably high resolution rates, then it's a win-win for everybody, both the business, the Access Group, but also our customers. And if that fails, then chat is not a bad fallback either. So yeah, 100% agree.
Yeah, and I think what I love about people being hesitant is that the reason they is that it's about customer experience and caring so much about other humans and giving them a good interaction. So that side of things I'm really on board with and a big fan of.
Yep.
Especially because before AI agents, like the old chatbot side of things wasn't great, and you were just trying to kind of get customers to go away with deflection or have them jumping through bot loops of doom, but we are in a whole other world now.
Sorry, repeat the last bit?
Yeah, we're in a whole other world now in terms of like not chatbot loops. It's like actual great AI experiences and conversations that are happening with customers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the nice thing with AI and Gen AI bots is sort of becoming the status quo already, right? So utility companies, software companies, gaming companies, they're all using these technologies, and there are some really good deployments out there. So that trust piece again, it's becoming the norm. Back to traditional chatbots, there are a lot of really bad examples, right? And that used to put people off engaging and using those, and they would resort to traditional channels like phone, etc. So the quality and the standard of the self-service channels is improving massively across all these different sectors, which helps like the broader adoption.
Yeah, and I mean, it's also not perfect. Like I will recognize that, right? If I dug into that 80% of resolved conversations, would I be 100% happy with every single one of them? Like probably not. Like we do use our CX score to get a high level overview of how the customer experience is going overall. And ours is 85%, which I think is very strong. But when I think about diving into the human support conversations, and if I reviewed a bunch of those, would I be 100% happy with every single one of those as well? Like probably not. So our humans are amazing and they're excellent, but they're not like 100% all the time either.
This is spot on. That's why prior to CX score, NPS score, CSAT scores were never 100%. You know, humans get stuff wrong too.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just reminding customers of that these AI bots, we're not putting them there to get in the way. They are there to try and provide a great service in a much quicker, scalable way for them. In the same way a human can, of course, but much faster, much more responsive, available 24 hours a day. So I think it's a great point.
Yeah, it all just comes back to that trust side of things. It's like businesses trusting AI enough to implement it and try it. And maybe, take some risks for long-term effectiveness and better customer experience overall, like on scale. And then the end user customer trusting, like in my case, the answer that's being given. And again, it's not always going to be 100%. But again, keep coming back to that piece that humans aren't either.
Yep.
And switching gears a little bit, but on a similar note, another conversation that we've had recently was around, again, that transition from classic phone, ticket, email to chat. So humans are still getting some conversations, right?
Absolutely.
And we were discussing how it can be tricky for humans to switch into that more conversational mode if they are used to the more traditional, like, dear sir, madam sort of vibe.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're about 60, 70,000 cases per month coming into our support team. And historically, they have been dealt with by phone, by email, by web tickets. So we're now trying to shift all of that either into Fin, ideally, but where it can't resolve, into a conversation. And I always do a really bad job at explaining this, but the art of conversation is really important. It's very different to email responses. And trying to get agents to think a little bit like how you would converse on WhatsApp or SMS, but in a business formal way, a bit something that's aligned to your brand and your tonality and how your marketing teams would interact with customers is a big change for support engineers. We're still thinking quite hard about how do we make that change really easy for them and allow them to, embrace conversation. But it's, we're taking people from traditional case comments that they've been using for years and years and years. So would love for your opinion on that, because I know you guys have been like conversation first for a very, very long time.
Yeah, there's actually a blog post from years ago. I'm with Intercom 10 years, and I remember joining and reading this blog post about like email is dead. It's all about conversations. And it was all about being more human in interactions with your customers, even if it's not face to face. And that still stands true today, whether it's a human or Fin having a conversation. It needs to be natural and friendly, and it's a bit more of a flow to it, than this like kind of like stop, start sort of motion. Because if you are interacting with somebody in person, you definitely don't do that, like I don't go over to you and say like, hi, I need some help, and you're like, give me 3 days and I'll come back to you. And one thing again we were chatting about earlier was that now on our support team at Intercom, we have folks using a product called Solid Road. So it's for onboarding. It's either for like onboarding new agents or for training folks up in new product and feature releases. So it does AI simulated conversations. So you will do like a bunch of prompting with it to say, give it all the context and then pretend to be a certain type of customer, who has a certain type of issue. And you can have your support agents actually interact with it. And it's like an ongoing conversation.
Awesome.
And they can get their QA reviews and everything done before they actually have to speak live with a customer. It's so cool. It's like a whole other, really cool. So hopefully you can start trying that out with your team as well.
Solid Road.
Yeah.
Yeah, another plug.
They're here today. I'm plugging them now. They'll only be too delighted to chat with you, I'm sure.
Awesome.
All right, Matt, thank you so much for chatting with us today.
Welcome, of course.
Cheers.